And in episode 5, that's exactly what Kamala does. She moves out. She moves into her own apartment, and Davy's mom helps her out with that, but she doesn't want to see Kamala go. She starts nitpicking the apartment, trying to get her to come back home with her. They then get a visit from the neighbors, but the neighbors are a bunch of kids who are aspiring childhood actors or influencers. Turns out this entire apartment complex is full of people who have quit their jobs to get their kids into Hollywood. Kamala's literally an outcast. She's just an adult. And when the kids visit, that's kind of the final straw for Nalini. She tells Kamala, "You can't live here." And Kamala has come to this conclusion too. But when they talk to the landlord, he won't give her a deposit back. And she paid the first month, the last month, and 3 months in the middle. That's basically all the money she had. And because of that, it forces Kamala to stay. She's not happy about it. And her aunt sits her down and makes her feel better by saying, "Kamala, you actually do need this. You do need to be independent. And yeah, this apartment isn't perfect." But then she goes on to tell the story of her first apartment with Mohan. It was a disaster. And her message is simple. If I got through it, you can get through it. And you can always come home and have dinner with us. So things aren't going great for Kamala, but they're going even worse for Davy. After having that conversation with Des, he has completely ghosted her and she has no idea why. She goes into school the next day and she's telling her friends. And Eleanor's theory is Des can tell that you haven't hooked up with someone in a while. Your sexual aura is dusty. You need to change it. What you need to do is hook up with somebody. And Eleanor has the perfect spot. The drama club is having a charity event with a French coffee house. Reality is, it's just an excuse for people to hook up. But that'll be the place that Davy can get back in the game. Davy doesn't have any other better ideas. So that night, she heads to the coffee house. And she's a little surprised because she was expecting to be a patron, but Eleanor hands her an apron and says, "You're going to be waiting tables." Not to worry. There's a lot of hot waitresses out there. Davy walks up to the first table of guys, starts flirting, but then she starts getting made fun of by Ben, who is over in the corner by himself. He asks her, "Davy, what the hell are you doing? That was pathetic." And Davy explains that she's there to hook up with somebody because her aura is dusty. It creates a little bit of a debate between the two of who's more hook-upable, and they have a bet, each saying that they could hook up with someone there and the other person can't. But Davy quickly realizes that it's going to be a lot harder for her than it is going to be for Ben. We're not even talking looks, we're talking options. There's not a lot of them for Davy. Whereas Ben, all he has to do is put his hood up, and he's got drama chicks all over him. But then Davy sees the guy she's going to hook up with. His name's Alejandro, and he's not a 10. He's probably not even a 7 or a 5, but he gets up on stage, he's got a guitar, he's got the voice of an angel, and suddenly, Davy's smitten. So as she waits for Alejandro to get off stage, her ex walks in the back to help Fab out. Paxton had handed in his list of colleges he wanted to go to, but the principal/guidance counselor told him that his resume was lacking a lot of extracurriculars. So she suggested that Paxton go volunteer at the coffee shop. He shows up, but he quickly realizes that the job of handing out coffee and cookies doesn't really require 2 people. So as Fab is actually doing the job, Paxton's kind of sitting back on his phone. He does overhear an awkward interaction between Fab and Anissa. And when Anissa leaves the room, he asks Fab, "So you two hooking up?" And Fab cannot believe that Paxton has been able to figure it out. She hasn't talked to anybody about this, not even her best friends. So she's a little concerned about how Paxton was able to figure it out, and he just got that skill. But then she uses this opportunity to actually talk about it because it's been bottling up inside of her. She doesn't know what her and Anissa are. There's been mixed signals all over the place, and it's clear that they like each other, but they haven't kissed since the initial kiss a couple months ago. She wants to ask Anissa out, but she doesn't know how. So Paxton, being a good guy, shows her how to put on the Paxton Hall Yoshida charm. And it works so well that it even has Fabiola swooning a bit. Fab is so impressed that she asks Paxton, "Do you do this with Phoebe?" And he says, "No. I mean, we don't really talk. We more of just hook up." But then he realizes that makes his relationship sound really bad. And he also knows that Davy is really good friends with Fab. He tells her, "Look, I know that you're best friends with her, but Davy is really complicated. She's a lot. Stuff with her was always super confusing. And it's not with Phoebe. It's easy. And I think in my senior year, that's what I'm looking for. Someone that doesn't make my brain hurt." And Fabiola tells him, "If that's what makes you happy, then good for you, Paxton." But outside in the hallway, somebody who's very happy is Ben Gross. He's hooking up with a drama chick that is way too cute for him. But it gets awkward when he gets caught by Anissa. He starts apologizing and she says, "Don't worry about it. You can hook up with whoever you want." But then he apologizes for how he was as a boyfriend. He took what Fabiola said to heart. He realizes that he was pretty crappy to Anissa. She accepts his apology, and then he asks, "So, what about you? Are you seeing anybody?" And she tells him, "Well, I'm kind of. I mean, it's complicated, but it's a friend." And that's when Ben looks over, and in the corner, he sees Davy flirting with Alejandro, and he decides to give Anissa some unsolicited advice. Don't hook up with a friend. It's only going to hurt you. Anissa looks over her shoulder, sees Davy, and realizes exactly what Ben was talking about. And Anissa tells Ben that there is no reason why you should be giving out relationship advice. But at this point, Davy and Alejandro have made their way up to the balcony. They start kissing, but all of a sudden the lights go on because the principal has shown up and she puts an end to that teenage orgy. Not in her house. That ain't happening. And when the lights go on, Davy realizes what a mistake she really did make by hooking up with Alejandro. Let's just say those dark lights did wonders for him. Davy's really disappointed in herself. As all the kids are leaving the coffee house, the principal runs into Paxton and asks him how his community service was. And he says, "It was really good. I enjoyed helping people." When, in reality, he only helped one person, and that was Fab. Paxton then sees Davy walking down the steps with Alejandro, and he jokes with her that every time he sees her now, she's with a different guy. And he's wondering if she's becoming a player. And she says, "Yeah, why? Are you worried that I'm going to steal your shine?" And he jokes that, yes, he absolutely is worried about that. But then Paxton apologizes because he regrets suggesting that Davy would be worried about the relationship with Phoebe. He clearly sees now that she's over it. They then say goodnight and head out to the parking lot. Davy heads out with Eleanor. She tells Eleanor that she did end up getting her sexual aura back by hooking up with somebody. But then she gets bad news because Eleanor says, "I really hope that nobody hooked up with Alejandro. He was sick as hell this morning." And Davy's cringing because that's exactly who she hooked up with, but she never tells Eleanor. Davy then sees Ben, walks up to him, and the two start recapping their night. And when Davy finds out that Ben did in fact hook up with the drama chick, she gets a tinge bit jealous. But the two bust each other's chops for a little bit and then go their separate ways. This was also a good night for Fab. She's walking out in the parking lot with Anissa, and she's ready to put on that Paxton Hall Yoshida charm, but Anissa cuts her off and says, "Should we date? I mean, clearly we like each other." And Fabiola can't say yes fast enough. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.